Grief is a thin place, a place so thin it's hard to tell where earth ends and heaven begins. Grief is a place so thin that it's where the living and the dead feel one another's love. I'm Lisa Hamilton, an Episcopal priest, and I grieve. First, I'll read some scripture that many Christians use in worship during Lent. Then I'll struggle with those words through the lens of grief. I'm glad you've joined me. Today's scripture is from Luke, chapter 11. Jesus was casting out a demon that was mute. When the demon had gone out, the one who had been mute spoke, and the crowds were amazed. But some of them said, "He cast out demons by Beelzebub." Others, to test him, kept demanding from him a sign from heaven. But he knew what they were thinking, and said to them, "Every kingdom divided against itself becomes a desert, and house falls on house." Grief has a way of dividing us against ourselves. Our own internal civil wars, things done, things left undone, things said, things left unsaid. Our memory never quite hangs in balance, never quite brings peace. As I mourn the loss of my only child, Ted, at age 27, the loss of his dad, Scott, when Teddy was 26 months old and we were 32, just barrels into my present. This force of reality is maybe what I first felt the day I opened the newspaper and read Scott's obituary. I noticed that the newspaper was shaking before I noticed that I was doing the same. That whole question of whose demons are cast out in this life, of who lives in recovery instead of in addiction, of whose cancers go into remission or even considered cured, while others are buried by the disease. I don't get it. But to those people who told me that if only we'd believe more fully, somebody actually said that to me at Scott's funeral, that if only we'd allowed it, prayed right, God could have removed the demon of cancer. Well, to those people, my vocabulary lacks the curses I'd like to spew at you. And the same for the woman who told me, "Smile, you of all people should know he's in a better place." She said that to me the Sunday I returned to serve as her priest. It all sounds so clear. Be good and you won't suffer. But live long enough, and you know the last thing this life is clear. Grief takes you to a thin place where it's hard to tell where death ends and life begins. And some things become so clear that even afterwards, you marvel in how real these moments are. To mark the first anniversary of Ted's death, his godmother Inga and I took a vial of his ashes to Assisi, Italy. Ted had died at St. Francis of Assisi Hospital, and Francis growing up was marked by disappointments and passion, like Ted's. When Inga and I visited the caves where Francis and his friends had prayed, I felt it was the place to scatter ashes belonging to Ted, who loved his friends and who loved the outdoors so deeply. And after I scattered the ashes, I was frozen in place. I heard this rushing sound, wind, but after a few moments I realized it was Ted's heartbeat. And then there was a rush of a breeze through the little clearing, and Ted and Scott felt so very close. Inga had kept her distance to give me privacy, But she also heard the heartbeat and saw the leaves stirred by the breeze. It was very sad and very peaceful and very real. Grief is a thin place.